law, which a Jewish state is supposed to have, other than the religious law. Anybody remember that we mentioned that last night?
Yeah. A rabbi basically come around the corners and everyone got pissed off.
There are 3 Rambams on the topic. I'm reading you now. I'm actually not reading. In fact, I'm going through a piece with you by Rabbi Yehuda Gershuni, who was a very brilliant man who lived in the mid to late 20th century, and this Sefer Kol Sofayich is all about issues which pertain to the land and state of Israel. So he brings down the Rambam 3 places which pertain to this. First of all, in Hilchos Sanhedrin, it says, Perik Yuches Halacha Vav. It's a Gzeras HaKos, a decree of the Torah itself, that Beis Din cannot kill or even flog a person based on his own confession. Unlike American law, where we actually can kill a person if he confesses to a murder, you can't kill or even flog a person if he confesses to a crime in Jewish law. You need specifically 2 witnesses. What about, we have cases in Tanakh. For example, Yoshua killed Achan. Achan was, he had to identify that Achan was a criminal. Does anybody remember?
Yeah.
He stole money.
He violated the Sabbath.
What? How do you? No, not Achan.
No, he stole money.
He stole from the Cherem. But how is he identified as the culprit? A goro. By a lottery, right? It wasn't a testimony. There was a lottery, and then Achan confessed.
Maybe it was the last shot.
Maybe the Rambam's going to say that.
Right.
So the or David killed the Amalekite convert who said that he killed Shaul on the battlefield. So Ram says either was a Rosh Shah, either was a temporary measure under extreme circumstances, Odin Malchus, or was the law of the king or of the government. So, but the Sanhedrin cannot kill nor flog somebody who confesses in a sin because maybe he is insane. So, a fascinating thing. The Torah doesn't allow the Sanhedrin to kill on the basis of a confession. But a king is allowed to kill on the basis of a confession. Okay, that's one round.
Communism.
Let's
continue.
Are you actually accusing us of being communists? Is that what you're saying?
The kings don't live in communism.
The kings are communists, right?
No,
He was a communist. Yoshua was a communist, right? Okay. The Rambam in Hilchos wrote further. In Hilchos wrote Seach Perik Beis Halacha Beis writes, let's say you hire somebody. Somebody asked us about this last night, I think. Maybe Shlomo. If you hire a hitman, right, to kill your friend, I like way in the Hebrew, Barok es Chavero, right? You hire a hitman to kill your friend, or you send your slave to kill somebody, or you put you tie a person up and put him in front of a lion. Nowadays it would be in front of a train, or something like that, and it was killed. He was killed, and also even somebody who commits suicide. All of these are considered to be murderers. They're called shofchei damim, and they have the sin of killing in their hands. And they're chayav misa l'shamayim. Of course, the suicide already died, but Hashem puts them to death, but not Beis Din. Beis Din can't put them to death. However, the Rambam continues, all these murderers and similar ones, where Beis Din cannot kill them, if a Jewish king wants to kill them with Dina Malchus, with the law of the kings, or the kingdom, or the government, and he adds, and Takona Sa'olam, and fixing up the world, he has permission. And also Beis Din, even a court can kill them as a Rosh Shah, if necessary. Okay? Now, so we have, again in this halacha, you can't, a hitman, the guy who hires a hitman is normally, according to Torah law, exempt, right? So the head of the mafia, who, like I mentioned last night, he doesn't get his hands dirty with blood, and therefore you can't kill him based on Torah law. But the king, the Din Malchus applies to him, and he can be killed based on Din Malchus.
Is it because you're Rodef? What's the...
Not because, it doesn't say anything, well, you're really into Rodef tonight. No, not because of Rodef.
Yeah,
doesn't say that.
But Rabbi, what are the times where when the Sanhedrin or the Din Torah are strict with Din Malchus?
What?
When when does the Sanhedrin or the Din Torah kind of restrict the
Always. They're more restricted. They're always more restricted.
So they restrict, the Din Torah restricts how much the Malchus can actually execute, or how, what...
Wait a minute. The religious law is much more limited than civil law.
I'm saying, can religious law put restriction on the
Jewish kings, yes.
On the Jewish kings?
Jewish kings, yes. Obviously, we can't put restrictions on non-Jewish kings, but Jewish kings, they have to abide by the Rambam. What?
What, for example?
What do you mean, for example?
When do we restrict the Jewish king?
Well, the Rambam holds, actually,
like the Din of Malchus, in terms of the...
let's do the last one first. Rambam also paskins in Hilchos Sanhedrin. No, where am I up to? In Hilchos Malachim, Parakim Malacha Yud. Anybody who kills without any clear evidence, or without warning, or even with one witness, or if you hate somebody and you killed him by accident, right? So then the king has permission to kill that person in order to fix the world as is necessary. This is Tikkun Olam, right? Tikkun Olam is a big thing, right? Tikkun Olam means to kill people who murdered and there is no clear-cut evidence.
So I would say the Meir Machlin, it's a rational principle that you can kill pagans because it prevents the war from...
Yeah, but here he's not talking about pagans. He's talking about Jews, fellow Jews. Okay, because based on whatever is necessary, and although Sanhedrin can only kill one person a day, the king can kill many people.
70 years. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but that's when they, as much as they generally did, but they have a quota of up to one person a day.
Really?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, was the adulterer and the adultery, they're both...
I don't remember. I think they can both, since the same crime, they both can be in one day. And he can leave them hanging in public many days in order to... Basin's not allowed to. Basin has to bury a person who they hang after Skila immediately before sunset. But the king is allowed to just leave him up there in order for people to be afraid of the consequences of running against the king.
How about today?
One second. Another one pertaining to Basin, just to clarify what Basin can do. The Rambam says a Basin can flog somebody who's not liable to flog him midaraisa, and can even kill somebody who's not required to be put to death, but not as a transgression on Torah, but rather to make offense to the Torah. And where Basin sees that the nation requires a special intervention because something is really going bad, they have to fortify and strengthen that matter in any means that they see appropriate. But that's a Rosh Shah, not a permanent law. So the example the Gemara gives is that there was a fellow who was riding a horse on Shabbos, and Chachamim took him to Basin, and they stoned him. Now, riding a horse on Shabbos is only a D'Rabbanan. It's not a Dorai, so there's no death penalty for riding a horse. But they understood that this was a necessary time to do something radical.
Why did they just flog him?
In order to... What?
Why did they just flog him?
I don't know. I guess you have to have been there. So but Rabbi Gershuni points out that the Basin is limited. They can only do it for the purpose of fortifying the Torah. The king has much broader license. He can do it for running the country properly and running society in the right way, because the king, by him, there's no qualification. That can only be a Rosh Shah, a temporary measure. It can be there's no qualification to actually do it for the purpose of fortifying Torah. On the contrary, in Perikos we say, if not for the fear of the king, then people swallow each other alive.
Wait,
so therefore the king has far more license than does...
Seems like we're giving him complete free reign.
Yeah, you could kill
yes, there are certain limitations, but very little.
When Herod killed the whole Sanhedrin because he felt that they were rebelling against him, he had the full right to do it?
No, Herod was not a legitimate king.
Okay, when I went down,
he was
the ruler. Okay, but he had this power, no?
No.
Were we speaking about legitimate kings only?
Only legitimate kings.
Why? Why is it different?
Because they were crowned by God
Legitimate
himself.
kings are the two types of legitimate kings. One is from
Speaking of
the
government
House
now,
of David, and the other is ones which are elected by us.
Elected?
Yeah,
What do you mean elected?
They're elected officials.
An election.
election.
so we could say that he was forcefully.
Want to elect a king? We can elect a king. Just like we elect the government.
Wait,
The
wait.
Jews, they elected a king?
What happened when they made the Northern Kingdom? The 10 tribes voted to have Yerovam to be the king, not Rehoboam to be the king.
So why? What?
Oh, I never knew there was any elections in Judaism. I thought
They
it was
said-
monarch.
They chose him.
Like,
But that was that the only time in history?
no. It's,
No, there are plenty of other times when they
Like
chose
Yehuda,
kings.
was ever in the,
What?
would they ever did election in King?
They didn't have elections, where they took the census and then they had polls and they had levers which they pulled to collect.
Oh.
But there was a consensus.
So it wasn't like the Athens. What was done?
No, because that you can't do it in an entire country. You can do it in a city. But
So how did they do it then?
they had the elders got together, like the smoke-filled rooms, and they decided that who's going to be the king, like it used to be in America.
Used to be in
Is it
Athens.
still?
In the
What?
ancient Athens, the ancient Athens, like in Greece.
Athens, yeah,
Athens.
that's what he's saying.
The aristocracy, they came together. Not
Uh-huh.
the woman, not the
slaves.
not the slave.
What determines where someone was tried? Which system they were tried under?
Sorry.
What determined if someone made a transgression of some sort? How were they tried? How do we know, which system they were?
It seems that it's really primarily the king system. It's very rare that you actually went to religious system.
Would the person's sins be forgiven if he got punishment through the king system?
Yes.
Because it sounds like only the Torah system is the system of atonement, whereas the king system is.
Death is death, whatever way it works.
But death without the proper process of teshuva is also not an atonement.
What?
Death without the proper process of teshuva is not an atonement either. Meaning,
Right. So before,
if the
just
king-
like before Sanhedrin kills him,
doesn't
he
sound like the king has the power to kill him right on the spot as he wishes to.
he could.
So therefore, there is
The
no.
guy better think fast.
Are they the king
One
elected?
second. What Rabbi Gershuni throws in here is not just the king, but also a Jewish government, which is appointed by the authority of the nation to have the power of a king. Because all the power of the king comes as a result of his being the designated authority of the nation. So, of course, that would mean that in our day and age, in Israel, where the government is selected by the Jews, it would have all these authorities as well.
But the
Because death penalty
but
is
that
the
imply that
What?
even the Arabs also do.
So what?
They fine. It's not.
It doesn't matter.
That means that we have an essentially a Torah system in Israel today.
No, we don't, because they don't rule according to Torah. That's the problem.
What?
But theoretically, right, you can have, there's no reason why Judaism cannot be based on a representative democracy.
I didn't know that.
What would Mashiach do?
It's a big
What?
chiddush because I heard everyone say that. I never
No,
knew that.
it's not true. There's no reason why it shouldn't be.
But you see the secular communities in Israel, they're afraid all the time that the Iranians they can take over the government eventually. It will
They're
be,
very justified in their fear. Yes, they're very justified in their
It's
fear.
good. We should take over.
Yes.
Why? Because but if what you say is true, then it's
already have.
democracy.
Yeah, I don't want the
So
Haredim
then
to
it's
get
gonna-
involved.
Yeah, well, the problem with the problem is that theoretically speaking, Iran is also a democracy, right? It's a republic. People vote, right?
Well,
If the Haredim took over Eretz Yisrael, it would be like Iran. People would vote, but there would be there would be a supreme leader.
So what
It's
is the
only if a
problem?
Hasidic sect takes over on it.
Or actually, in Judaism, there are actually supreme leaders. Nobody would agree on one person.
What is the
I
source
can't
of
agree on
the
anything,
problem
can we?
then?
What?
What is the source of the problem? It's not the problem, it's the technical problem.
I can't
Technically it's
follow
possible to
the
have democracy. So what is the problem for this, in the fear that the Haredim will take over? Eventually. The fear
What
of
qualifications does the average Haredi have for
what
Good luck.
Listen, I hold one of the great Chil Hashems in the land of Israel is the whole concept of Haredi parties. There should be no Haredi parties.
You think there should be a Shas
There should be
party?
no religious parties.
But then the only
None.
Why
but
not?
then-
what?
What?
I think
Why
you're
should
wrong.
there be
I
no
agree.
party?
It should be representative democracy like America.
Why?
There will be.
Wait, isn't it?
Well, even
Really?
in America, if I want to
Wait,
make a
wait.
religious Jew party, they have to, under constitutional law, they're...
I don't want there to be religious parties. Religious parties
Yeah,
just
why-
a
say why
solution.
not?
Fine. Okay,
Why not?
I
Wait,
understand,
Right,
I
but
think
that's
this is
not the
snagging
way
you talking.
Constitution...
This is, by the way, this is
Let's hear Rabbi say why not.
This is a tremendous internal argument within the Aguda movement, which no longer exists in a movement, but once upon a time there was a Aguda Yisrael movement, and there was a tremendous internal argument whether to have a religious party or not. The majority decided that there would be a religious party. I think it was a mistake.
Why do you think so, Rabbi?
Because what happens is that every Israeli, whether from or not, sees the religious parties as a means for getting money, not for idealism, but rather for money and patronage. You know what patronage is?
Nope.
Patronage means getting jobs for the people who you want to get jobs.
Okay. What is wrong with
Shas
that?
is a primary example of that.
What is wrong with that?
They're
You-
almost
what is wrong
second
with
to
that?
biggest
What is wrong with that?
Exactly. Yeah.
But now,
What's wrong with that is that it's the antithesis of a Kiddush Hashem.
True.
It's a selfish. It's perceived as
Selfless.
selfish,
Wait,
not selfless.
you just said that the Judaism is religion of loopholes, right? So in the government that gives you a loophole to expend it and use and benefit from, why shouldn't you benefit from that government?
That's true. But
You're
then
paying your taxes.
you will-
Why can't you benefit from that
you
government?
you will look like a parasite.
You look like a parasite regardless.
You will?
Yes.
No,
Why not?
not if you're not the one who's distributing the money.
But I
The
hear
government is distributing the money.
Right.
The government decides. You
But
vote for us,
religious-
we'll give you a percentage of
If
what you vote
religious
for.
parties were there to make the state of Israel have a religious character and
They
to
do.
Kiruv,
They do.
no,
Right?
No, they
They're not
don't.
doing a great job
primarily
at
they're
it.
primarily there for money. For enough money, they will sell the state of Israel's religious character down the tubes. Many of
Okay,
them.
I don't know
So
if that's a true
you're
statement.
arguing that the current state of the political party is poor, but you don't think
There's
that-
no ideal state.
But if there was an ideal party,
Once it's a political party, it's involved in politics. Politics is a dirty business.
okay,
That's
but
why
you
I
have
like
to be
Staying
involved
yourself,
in it.
if you
That's
stay
why I like
yourself with
South,
politics,
because they
it's
don't
very
get
hard
involved with
to
it.
actually remain on a higher madrega and say we are special.
Yet we've had politicians our entire history. Judaism has.
We have.
Yes.
We've had kings. We've had evidently an electoral
Then
government.
we have 1900 years without politics.
No,
That
it
sort?
never happened.
Only
Yeah, we never elected any
Never
rabbis.
happened.
They just came up.
only
popped
when we
up
didn't
out
have
of
a
nowhere.
state. But every
Right.
time we've had a state, we've had a.
No, even when we were in other countries, we were politics.
Right.
So
So
Wait.
there will be elections.
Even in Poland and
and
Germany.
if there were no religious parties, then all the secular parties would have to cater to the religious
No.
sector.
You think they would?
Of course they would.
Yeah, you think they would
would
care?
get votes.
Do you think they would
Just
care?
like New Square. How does New Square get all this stuff from the government, right?
Yeah, but that you're talking about
Black-
a capitalistic
black
government
voting.
and a socialistic government. There's two
And it's a
different ways.
democracy. It makes no
Robert, if they decide to,
It's a
I
Right.
also
If-
did disappointed from the religious party
I don't know,
people,
this is a
but,
socialist
wait, if this, wait,
my question is this. My question. Well, what do you think about
This one.
recently this cast member from Shas, forgot his name. He went out. He just published a book just a few days ago, I think. I saw an article about it on the internet.
Is he in jail or out of jail?
Out of jail. No, he's fine.
He'll be in jail eventually.
Why? What did he do?
And Shas party members go to jail very frequently.
except for Bavaria.
What's the reason usually?
He's not a member of the party, but
What's the usual?
actually representatives because
The Shas party. Wait,
they're
what party is
found
that?
guilty of embezzling the
So is
government.
everybody else in that party. So is everybody else in that whole system.
So everyone else in New Square.
But
Everywhere else.
that doesn't make
Oh,
it
120
right. That doesn't make it
You're
right.
right.
It's
So
still
that's-
Chil Hashem when a frum Jew does it.
Come on.
You're
you
right.
don't
I'm
find
not saying no, but that
senators
doesn't
even
give
over
it-
here. Come on, Rabbi. The Democrats and
Doesn't
Republicans don't
matter.
have senators that
That's
think
not
that-
my concern.
But that's not a reason to have a party. That's you have to elect people who are good people and they have honest and characteristics, not people who are crooks. That's people. That's not the party's fault. It's the people that they elect.
They chose the people to be elected.
Yes, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't have a party at all. It just means we made a bad decision of who we elected.
Right. It happens to be that they make bad decisions time after time after
Okay,
time.
fine. So they'll have to let
It's
it
Time
not
after
part of the
time.
process.
Anyway, what's the book? What's the book of that?
The book is promoting the system of gay wars. I mean, it's the opposite against the majority. Voice you can hear in the Haredi world. It's promoting the gay wars, passive girls by Russian, Russian half Jews, whatever.
Really?
So we had a lot of discussion about it. I forgot his name.
But
So,
Yeah.
so he's been attacked by many others, but
Okay.
Getting back,
I want to go further with this.
right, but
go
there
further,
were
Rabbi.
questions on things that you said already that getting back to what you said. Number one, so what things could a king not do? That's number one. Number two is, was there checks and balances in the Sanhedrin with the king?
Yeah. So, but the thing is like this: the Meiri writes that this is a tough Meiri. He says even though the laws of the king grants a permission to kill much more than a Sanhedrin does, nevertheless, anytime he comes to kill for his own honor and revenge, the Sanhedrin should check and balance him. And they should judge him. In other words, so people should not say that he's killing out of anger and jealousy. Nevertheless,
very good.
if a king does kill out of jealousy or revenge, he's not punished.
That was the case.
And Meir brings as a start the case of Uriah Achiti, where David killed him, had him killed in battle, out of spite, revenge, whatever, cover up, whatever it was. So, and that they did not judge him in a Sanhedrin because Sanhedrin cannot judge a king.
Shaul killed the whole city of.
I mean, they can judge, but not for this. What?
Shaul killed the whole city of.
Right, he also wasn't killed. Right. So the checks and balances, they are limited. You would only judge a king if he actually went out and murdered himself, not if he orchestrated these killings. It's very tough. You could organize a revolt, but it's hard to depose a king.
Sounds like Rome.
It sounds like a system which allows a single person in almost entire.
Well, all monarchies like that have a course of history.
Why is that appropriate for a Jewish society?
Because we assume that Jewish kings are going to be good people.
Just a Jewish politician.
Unfortunately, that was never only true for about 40, 50 years of Jewish history. Right?
That sucks now.
That's not true. It's more than
Jewish
that.
history Jewish history is a glorious record of failure after failure after failure, with the exception of about 40 or 50 years in the times of King David and King Solomon.
That's not true.
Otherwise, we have been actually doing very, very poorly. Okay, another 10 years here, another 10 years there.
And the other one who made Baal Teshuvah, the one that did
Yoshiao. Yeah, but even then, the people didn't take away the bumos, it says.
Oh, so what's the problem? Are we always going to be screwed over like
good.
this? Or
What?
What's the deal? Like, how
Yes.
out of 3,000 years of it, we only had about 40 years actual
That's
peace.
right. That's why the Rambam doesn't hold so much of this Am Yisrael stuff.
Oh yeah.
He holds that the world's created for the
smart people.
smart people.
No,
Right.
It's basically a battle of the fittest, you know.
He also,
Not the battle of the fittest.
I'm
No.
sorry, the survival of the fittest.
People, no,
The
not
smartest.
survival of the fittest. He means Hashem's intent was to actually produce those brilliant people, and the rest of us,
They just
don't
commentary.
matter as much. Right? Or commentary. Yeah.
So are we stuck to the idea of having a Jewish king, or could we possibly go outside the system of a monarchy and
No, we
enjoy
said
society?
before you
Discuss that.
came,
Discuss.
we said democracy is a legitimate option.
Okay.
Rabbi, according to Rambam,
Now,
when Mashiach comes, everybody will be
Sucks.
preoccupied with knowing Hashem. So eventually, it's not just for the few elect or whatever, but eventually it should be about all humanity.
okay. Now I want to read the Ran. The Ran is the Drush of Ran. This is a bit lengthy. I don't know if we're going to finish it tonight. I'm going to translate as we go along. But the Ran, of course, is a Rishon. Very important to know. He was a Talmud of the Ramban, so of the Nachmanides. He says, it is well known that human beings require a system of judgment which will judge between individuals. For if not, each person would swallow his fellow alive, and the world would be destroyed. And every nation requires this in order to sustain their civilization, their society. So, as a fact, he says there was a certain wise man who said that even bandits have to arrange a social order which is just among themselves, right? Because otherwise they won't be able to exist as a society of bandits, right? And Jews need this arrangement just as much as non-Jews do. Besides that, Jews also have an additional obligation, besides the social, keeping a proper society, which is to preserve the laws of the Torah with all their punishments and all their, obviously, all their penalties. So you need to have, therefore, two types of judgment. One of them, he says, one of them is to punish people based on true judgment, which evidently is the Torah judgment. And the other manner is where somebody who you can't punish based on true judgment, but you have to punish him in order to make sure that society conducts itself in the proper way. So the way he says, Hashem could decided that the system in Klal Yisrael should have two separate components. One of them is the system of judges and Sanhedrin, which judges the true judgment. And that it says, the Torah enjoins them, B'shaftu asa'am mishpat tzedek. They have to judge true justice. That is their purpose. But, that says the Ran, because the social order will not be fully, fulfilled in this manner, so Hashem gave us the laws of the king. Okay? And then he gives some examples of what the kings are allowed to do, which include killing people who are murderers, even if there is insufficient evidence to kill him in a basin. And he says a king can judge in any way that he sees necessary for the social order of the country. Because it says kibbutz hamedini, the society of the nation. So he says, so the king is equivalent in Am Yisrael and in the nations of the world, in that they are for the arrangement of the country's law and order. And the appointment of judges, which we have, is a special quality by Klal Yisrael, which is to only judge absolute justice. In other words, if you have a case of murder in the regular court system, right? So then you could kill somebody in the king's court system. You can kill somebody based on a lower threshold of evidence than you can kill somebody with the Sanhedrin.
You can kill them with no evidence.
Sorry?
Evidently, you can kill them with no evidence.
Well, there has to be one witness or a confession or something like that, right? But that is, but it's a lower threshold because there's much more. For the Sanhedrin kills, it's not as a deterrent. When a king kills, it's much more of a deterrent. Because a king is trying to make an example so people will not then go out and do nasty things to each other. The Sanhedrin is doing a religious function. One second.
Why shouldn't that also be a deterrent in itself?
Yes, but it's far less of a deterrent. That's because, especially if they only killed.
I don't understand why it would be.
Because they kill very rarely. It's very hard to kill somebody based on Torah law.
Uh-huh.
So wait, I mean, so basically, the way it would work is, if they have a case that comes to them, they'll decide whether it goes to the king's court, like a civil court or a religious court, right? So if it has sufficient evidence to kill them on the basis of the basis of a Beis Din, they would just send it over to the civil king's court and it would be judged
Right,
there.
but it goes further than that. The Ran.
Now, when the second basin...
Wait. Therefore, he says the Ran, I hold, and it's proper to believe, that just like there are laws which have nothing in the Torah, religious laws, which have nothing to do with the maintenance of a proper society, but rather they are independently intended in order to bring down bestow the blessings of God upon us. So too there are there are laws, or rather there is an area of law which the Torah opens to us with this concept of law of the king, which is not just to bring about the divine aspect which religion brings about, but also a proper society. In other words, that the society should be arranged in a proper way. And it's possible it's possible. Well, let me skip this part because it's a little complicated. And he says that he says it's possible that even from the arranging society, it's possible the Sanhedrin will be able to bring down some sort of high level of religious achievement, but they're not going to be able to affect a change the social order the way they're supposed to. And therefore, he says, listen to this line from the Ran. Therefore, it is possible that you can find by some nations of the world and their laws that which is closer to the order of a proper society from that which you will find based on the laws of the Torah.
What?
Saying the circle was better than religious law.
What is that?
Therefore, it's possible that you can find in the legal systems of some of the nations of the world that which is closer to the proper running of a society in a country than you will find in some of the laws of the Torah.
Probably. So wait. So
I don't.
You don't get it?
I
No,
get
I
it.
get it. It's because the laws of the Torah are missing that
Right.
syllable.
So then he says, the Ram says, but don't worry, we're not really missing anything, because anything which we're missing, the king will fill up.
Okay, Robert.
He'll fill in that gap.
Why are,
So the Sanhedrin, they can't impose tickets for speeding. It's not within their purview. They can't do that. But the king can.
why
Or
are,
you could say, actually, you can make a case that they could.
How can you?
Well, because what it says, I forgot which part.
You'd have to have two cops there, you know?
No, but there's
You can't
No,
trust
civil
one
war.
cop.
No, you don't. You have to have civil war. Doesn't have to have two cops.
What?
Civil
No,
war.
he's saying Sanhedrin. He wants
Yeah, but you only need to have one witness when it comes to monetary laws.
No, what are you
Yeah,
talking
you do.
about?
You only need two witnesses when it comes to
No!
lashes or
No!
yes.
No! No!
If I'm making if I'm making a transaction with somebody,
no! You need
Yes.
two witnesses.
no, not always.
Now, when Udas Baldin, Udas Baldin can make down. If a person concedes something, they don't need witnesses by Dinah Mominus. But here, God doesn't want to concede the parking, the violation. You need two witnesses.
You sure you would demo
I promise.
I have a
Yes.
question.
Well, a lot of people have questions.
Why-
Let's go to order this
Go
one.
around the
Actually, you can skip mine.
So why is it considered wisdom to have a king in the first place when every king except for David and Shlomo,
Shmuel, what?
and with a few other exceptions, we're basically like egotists, or they had a lot of jealousy, or they had like revenge. They had a lot of things that were
psychological disorders.
that was not necessarily very. The quality you were looking for in a Jewish king.
Shmuel warned them about them. He
Right.
says, "You guys, you'll see, you'll regret this."
The king
Right,
of
but
Chloe.
why did we even have a king in the first place? If we were warned,
Because
if we were warned about it,
what do you mean?
Shmuel warned us.
Because they wanted one anyway. Kings are fun, you know.
You want it to be like the coin,
People
right?
go to Buckingham Palace to watch the change of the guard a
So
lot.
what was it supposed to be without a king?
What?
What kind of system was it supposed to be without the king?
It was supposed to be much more like the United States before the Constitution, on the Articles of Confederation. Each tribe would have. Are you familiar with that situation?
Yeah.
Each tribe would have its own more or less autonomy, and there would be a very, very loose confederation overseeing it.
Yeah.
That's the way it's supposed to would have been. And what's
Why didn't it go that way?
Why did it go that way? Because when they saw that to wage war, it was a very inefficient system. Because they would have to each time raise an army from scratch, and some tribes would come, some tribes wouldn't come, so therefore they decided to have a unified system. Can I just read you one more thing from the round before I ask another question? What?
You mean in the Tanakh or here?
In the Tanakh. And therefore, so listen to what the Ram says further. He says, the king is thus, can be regarded as the head of the judges, not the judges of the Torah law, that other system, and the elected representatives, Muvcharim. I'm sorry. No, Muvcharam. Sorry, no, I made a mistake. The head of the judges and the foremost among them. And these judges would stand in a place, they should sit in the place where there was divine influence, such as the Anshe Knesset Agdola in the Lishkas HaGazis, in the chamber of the hewn stone in the Beis HaMikdash. But, no, you know what, this, never mind.
Okay, fine.
Scratch that.
Question.
That was a mistake, what I just said. It's not, that's not talking about, it's not talking about the king, sorry.
So a Jewish person is allowed to sit then. Well, at first, we're allowed to have a Jewish system in Israel under governmental law. Jewish system will work for civil law, for civil and death penalty cases also, right?
Sorry?
Jury system, trial by jury, that would be fine
Yeah,
in a Jewish
in
system.
the Jewish system. Yeah, I don't like the Jewish system, I think it's
Oh,
very
fine,
bad.
fine, but I'm saying.
But the religious law does not allow for that, right?
Well, it would allow.
Religious law does not allow.
Yeah, but saying the civil law, for capital punishment,
right?
The government could have a Jewish system whether the person is guilty or not.
Right.
Okay, then same thing. But what would be a problem of being in a Jewish system in America to try a Jew for capital punishment? Is there a problem? Because I heard there was a problem with the person judge.
Sorry?
Is there a problem for a person to be a jury on a capital case with the defendant is Jewish?
No, Dina Machus Dina. Chutzlaretz is certainly not a problem.
Not a problem.
No.
Okay.
It's a might be more a problem, not Chutzlaretz.
Why is there a problem?
So they don't,
Because there are limits on what the king's supposed to do.
they don't have capital punishment in Israel anyway.
Right, so it's not.
No, but why is that a problem? If you have a system, why is that a problem?
It has to be a just system.
It is a just system based on the laws that they make.
It's fine.
Civil justice.
With
system.
different civil,
It's a civil just system.
define what justice is. It's just
It's
define
fine.
what-
No, I'm saying yes. Yes.
Okay, another thing is the Moshe Feinstein. I think one of the presidents asked him a question on his view of death penalty.
Not that the governor saying you're Mario Cuomo.
Okay, fine. So he wrote a letter back, right? What
He said death penalty is okay.
is that what he said?
Yeah.
But he didn't say that you have to do death penalty.
No. He said it's
Rabbi,
okay.
Rabbi
It's
Miller
okay.
argued and said that he felt that death penalty was the only way.
The only way?
On murderers, if someone murdered,
Oh.
he felt that was the only way.
Okay. So yeah, but he said it's okay to have the death penalty because that is Dina Malchus Dina. They have this. They
But
have
what
this
was
right.
the Jewish view on it? Because that was under the Jewish category. What was the Jewish view on the death penalty? In the Jewish society, that would also be okay, according to Moshe Feinstein?
In what?
In the Jewish society.
Why not?
Absolutely would. It's all
Because
over
if
the Torah.
its purpose is made for deterrent.
And all over the...
So what was the purpose of the Sanhedrin dismantling itself during this second base of English?
Because they couldn't. They were not able to keep up with the backlog of murderers.
And the king could.
The Romans did what they wanted, basically. Yes.
The governor.
So they relinquished it to the Romans.
Even though it won't be a fair system.
Sorry?
Even though it's not a fair
They
system.
didn't have a choice, really.
Well,
That's
what I wanted to know about the second temple era, because it seems that the Kohen Gadol, that the Sanhedrin didn't care that the Kohen Gadol had all the power. Why did everyone pay them? Why did everyone pay off to be the Kohen Gadol? Because the Kohen Gadol in the second temple era was not like being a Kohen Gadol in the first temple.
right. They were Tzedakah
No, you're saying they had more
They,
power.
they had political power from the
because
Greeks.
they were Tzedakah.
Oh, so
They were Hellenists
oh, so
for the
they
most part.
oh, so that's why. So they just paid off the Greeks, and so how did it work? During the second base of Mikdash, they gave over they were able to give over a criminal to the Greek or the Roman Empire.
That's what they did with Jesus. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, so that wasn't an issue. So it just worked. They just gave over the murderers and said, Greek and Romans, you deal with them.
I want to read what Rabbi Gershuni brings down as his conclusion from the Ran. So it comes out according to the Ran that the entire law of appointing a king in Israel who's to arrange laws which are the fixing which fix the society between man and his fellow man, and that is the source of the power of the king. And he adds, based on what the Ran wrote and other sources write, that these laws are the laws of Bnei Noach. Right? Bnei Noach also have an obligation to set up a court system and a justice system. So they are parallel in that their court system and our court system, which is from Din HaMelech, are for the tikkun of the country and its society. The Ran holds that if the nation was on its proper high level, which again we never reached, then we have no necessity to have the laws of the king. And that's why having a king is optional. Because ideally speaking, the Sanhedrin would be enough because they would bestow the religious law, they would judge the religious law, and we would fulfill the religious law, and that would be enough for us to connect to Hashem and for our society to function properly. But since in reality, that has never happened, so therefore, the alternative system of Din HaMelech is an essential component of the way our state would work. Yeah.
Is the Mashiach going to be king?
Melech HaMashiach.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't know what kind of king he's going to be.
Oh, but he's still a king then.
What?
He's still a king then.
Yeah, he's a king.
He could be a limited
So what
monarch.
says? But wouldn't that be like a
Queen
high,
Elizabeth is a queen. So,
No, but I'm saying like according to that, like if that's a high, won't that be our highest level? So why like isn't he saying we won't?
yeah, if we have Mashiach as king, then that's a good king. That doesn't mean anything that about past kings we had. You know, it wasn't particularly good under Achav. We learn many of the halachos of Kavod Malchus from Achav. But how Eliyahu respected Achav. So, Yaakov was not the greatest king. It wasn't so good to live under him. Yeah.
Two things. One, it sounds like an awful lot like the American system without the House of Representatives and the Senate. Yeah. And is that a reasonable statement?
That was kind of choppy. Can
Sorry,
you repeat
it
that
sounds a lot like the American system without the House of Representatives and the Senate.
What's one of the House of Representatives and the Senate?
I'm sorry?
Oh, because yeah, right. Okay, fine. If you want to look at it that way, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
and two, given all these things we've talked about, in your opinion, how should we act in the according to the state of Israel?
How should we act in the state of Israel?
I mean, if given your like free reign, what would you do about the state of Israel?
I told you, eliminate religious
Give the land
parties.
to Arabs.
Well, is that the only thing you did change?
Well, right now, we have messed up society in the land of Israel so badly
Right.
that they're not going to listen to us.
Right. So you have to
Not
look at
gonna-
PR, Rabbi.
The secular are not going to listen to the
So are you
religious.
giving it up
Even
for
the
lost
religious
cause?
parties don't want to listen to us.
Even religious parties don't want to listen to religion. So the.
Are you giving it up
By the
for
way, it's
lost-
interesting.
I never said they were
Throughout the
religion,
history,
they don't
throughout
want
the
to
history of the
listen
state
to
of
us.
Israel,
They don't have to.
the percentage of religious representation of religious parties was almost exactly the same from the beginning of the state till the religious parties more or less disintegrated in the past few years. So it was almost usually between 15 and 20 members of Knesset, which is up less than a sixth of up to a sixth of the country.
Right.
There are far more religious people than a sixth of the country in the state of Israel. So obviously, anyway, 50% or more of the religious voters were not voting for religious parties.
Right.
And under this system,
We're not voting
their
at all.
votes, no, but they probably were voting for non-religious parties because non-religious parties, have agendas which happen to dovetail with many people's. And until very recently, the non-religious parties didn't cater at all to their religious voters in any way, shape, or form. So in essence, their votes were going from a religious perspective to waste. Recently, non-religious parties have brought in religious people into their slates of candidates, but that's a relatively recent phenomenon.
Okay, but
So the whole
So what we do, we need to have a good Jewish party.
What?
We need to have a good Jewish party.
a good religious party.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people try that all the time. Somehow, after they get into office, it's like all the campaign promises people make.
Yeah.
Somehow, when they get into office and they find that money and power,
Rabbi, that's
You
not
know
what
what,
enough
Rabbi,
power.
Is it the only thing
What
you
did
changed?
Rav Shach was not a member of the Knesset.
You're saying
What did he do? Did he do
He had
What?
Did he do like? Was he a member? He wasn't a member of the
Rav Shach's major contribution was that he divided the Agudah into
Divided
the Hasidic and Litvish
And he created Shas, no?
sectors.
He
And he
created-
promoted Shas.
Do you think that only that single change has made the dissolution of the religious
No, it'll
party?
take years now to fix the problems. It'll take years and years of Kiddush Hashem to eliminate all the
You need
chillush.
to have PR. You need to have public relations.
What do you mean?
PR.
Yeah, okay.
Kiddush Hashem.
We have lousy PR.
Okay, that's the problem. We
Yeah,
should invest money into PR and
Fine, okay.
Other
Look at
rabbis
the
who
ownership.
If that works, it works fine. Good.
Rabbi, I have two questions. First of all, don't you believe it's part of the Chiddush Hashem is also because they try to influence as much as far as political power as they can in order to avoid any other kind of studies except for Talmud studies or whatever their own little bit of Tanakh and so on in Haredi schools. They try and they don't get them.
Yeah, I don't want to address this on the record.
Thursday,
All right. And they don't.
It's
And now,
right? It's off, right?
and now they hardly can participate.
It's off, right?
No, it was up. Okay, goodbye.
It's,